Okay, so we're going to do a quick RastrMapr overview of the app and all its new features. So we've got three main tabs: RastrMapr, RastrMapr tab, and the Output Mapper. So that's the newest one. We're going to cover each one in sections. So first one, we're going to cover RastrMapr. RastrMapr is pretty cool. It's a pretty simple tile configuration right here, the very first tab on the left. So you can configure your tiles. You can either click and scroll up with your mouse. You can use the little buttons here, or you can just type in a number. Hit enter. It's pretty fast, so should be pretty snappy. At the bottom, you've got your tile size and your pixels in tiles. So you can change it really quick if you wanted to update your pixel map, 128, 128. And you can even do math in here. So if you were to multiply that by 2, and you get different size panels depending on which panel you're technically using. And then, of course, you've got your dimensions here. So if you entered that in, all it does is updates a tooltip down here at the bottom. It gives you the wall size and dimensions. In meters, you can click feet if you wanted it in feet, or back to meters. And it also gives you an aspect ratio. So let's refresh that and go back to standard. Let's just do a basic wall like this. Put the logo right here in the middle. A nice other feature is that you can also click on tiles to black them out. So if you had like a custom wall, for example, you can click and hold and drag, and it'll black out the tiles as you go over them. Or you can click on a black one to reveal it, and then go back and unhide it, basically. This makes it easy for any custom tile designs that you might have on site for, like, it's usually concert tours or stuff like that, or house of worship. From here, you've got your color and display. We've got a couple of modes for how to display this. You can see checkerboard's really bright. Engineering mode is half dim because every other pixel is out. So when every other pixel is out, it's going to decrease the brightness of the total wall. So the nice thing about this is it's nice for on-site. If your LED techs are working on the wall, it's not going to blind them. You can have full brightness. You can switch between test pattern and full content, and you don't have to adjust anything on the LED wall processor. You just switch to your test pattern, and it looks pretty nice on site for people. Keeps the blindness away. The other good reason for it is it'll let you see moire in real life if there's any scaling. You can just see it with your eyes. So it's a nice check where if it's going through any type of other image processor, or an Image Pro 4K, or in a Brompton or anything, and there's even the slightest amount of scaling, you'll be able to see it with your eyes on site. You'll be able to just walk up to the LED wall, and you'll see the one pixel that's supposed to be off will be glowing just a little bit. And so you can see a lot of scalation issues or any type of processing issues that aren't going to be respecting the video signal for being pixel 1:1. But if you want full brightness, you can do that, obviously. You just change it to checkerboard. You can also have just a solid color. Don't know why you need it, but it's there if you want it. And this helps with color compression. You can see right here, if there's any type of color compression, you'll be able to see it by walking up to the wall again. Engineering mode's my favorite, obviously. And then you've got some easy colors. Right for the right side, and then blue for the left side. Stage left, stage right. Or you can do house right, house left. Depends on whatever you want. The other thing too is you have solid colors. These colors right here, the soft colors, are just 50%. So again, it just decreases the luminance of the wall. So that's why I have the soft colors in here. It's not. I usually stick with the color B to be white, but you can change that as well. So you can pick whatever pattern you like. You can also enable or disable your stroke, or change the color of it to whatever you want. These are standard colors, obviously, that I usually select. And you can change the width of the stroke. So instead of 1, you can go up into half pixel increments. And then you can select the color here if you wanted a custom color. Okay, so next section is main label. This is a label that you can select and drag around. Let's pick some other color that's a little bit easier to see. And let's adjust the B color to be white again. Cool. So your main label, you can pick obviously other colors. I usually stick with the soft colors, or you can do a green color to match the actual the labels. Also your resolutions here so that it's easy to grab if you want to input it into the text field here. So let's go ahead and do that. 3264 by 1920. Let's change that to blue, a little easier to see. Even if you see that it's like a little dim, like cyan here looks dim on the screen, when you're on site, the wall actually displays this really nicely still. So don't let that fool you. And since I can drag it around, you can see it dynamically updates the label X and Y position. And you have a snap it to the center if you want as well. Makes things a little easier. Let's remove this. There we go, snap to center. And then we've got tile labeling. You can enable or disable this as well. And then now you can select the start label. So if you did, like, it's always going to be a single letter and a single number. So if you change it to Z10, you'll see your top left starts at Z10. You can create custom setups depending on the configurations that you're trying to do. And then you can also obviously change the font size of this. And then the offset position is relative to the center of the tile. So if you wanted to put it in the top left corner, you could do that as well. The LED wiring is a new section. This bit lets you set up the wiring direction of all the cables. This has an auto button, or you can define the actual direction of the button that you want. The auto feature, in order to enable this, you have to start drawing. So when you click, let's do red for example. If you click, it will point in the direction that your mouse is moving. So I can just left click, hold, and drag down, and then start dragging in other directions. And you can set up the LED wiring like this. And if you ever make a mistake, like I did, where was it, here? You just click and drag again, and it'll detect the direction that your mouse is moving in. And this is the direction that it leaves the tile. So if you leave the tile in a different direction, then it'll detect that, and it'll change the arrow as well. And from here, that's basically it. If you change the color, it'll change the color dynamically, pretty actively. And then you've got the size of the arrows as well. So they're all, you can define that. And then you've got your X and Y positions. So if you wanted to put it anywhere, you could. And then if you wanted to clear it and just start all over again, you just hit clear arrows and start all over again. Uncheck to stop drawing, and then when you click, you're back to the normal behavior of having the tile black out. And then you can set up 2 of these, or you can have one that's specific for the LED guys, and you can either show or hide the labels. We're going to leave the labels in. Here we can also choose a logo. Let's see, what do we got here? Let's select the logo. And the logo, you can just click, drag it, place it anywhere you want. And then you've got the width of the logo. This depends on the pixel resolution of the logo, but you can just click it and drag your mouse if you have a freewheeling mouse and define exactly where you want that logo to be. And then you can remove it with just a remove button. You have up to 5 logos that you can select for each pixel map. We do have pattern overlays, so let's just enable all of these so you guys can see them all. It shows them all there. These are all the basic pattern overlays. They're good for projector setups. And then we have now projects. So you can save and load and set up projects in here as well. Just set up a new project name, test project, and then we're gonna create that. It'll populate in the project list that's here. You can also export and import projects. So you've got to and delete them here on the right here from the project. This will delete everything. Or you can delete and export individual configurations. So I'll show you guys that in a little bit. This is a sample LED, and let's just do in the test projects, save, and you'll see it populates down here. It won't populate until you have an actual configuration saved in there. And then recalling is pretty simple. You can just select a new one. This is a custom shape, for example, stage LED floor. It's a star. And this is another project I'm working on. A few different configurations. We'll use this one actually in the RastrMapr tab. Okay. And then after that, you can export individual ones and save it as whatever you want. This file name autofills depending on what you've selected. So it's 10-stage LED floor, for example. See, it auto updates the name. You can select the format as PNG or JPEG, and then you can just hit download and it'll download it. So let's go to the RastrMapr tab. This is really useful for anybody who's building pixel maps for content teams. If you want multiple LED walls or multiple configurations in a single piece of content, you can select either your entire project and it'll auto-populate everything, and then it'll auto-populate the slots that you see here. Or you can just switch between, it'll auto-populate exactly how many configurations there are for how many slots. Or you can just manually add the slots and then through the projects select your individual pixel maps. So that's another way to do it. And it'll just keep adding them to the right depending on however many you, right up until, I think it's 16,000 pixels. So let's do the 6 configuration one. So it auto-populates this for you. You can minimize that, and you can arrange, just click, drag, and arrange the LEDs however you want. And it will auto-size your template for you. And you can see your dynamic raster resolution here. That'll update automatically depending on how you drag these out, in or out. And I do have a snapping feature so that it snaps there to each one individually. But if you want to override that, you can go to each tile and you can either manually nudge it or you can dial in a number, 3100. You can also rotate these as well. So if you need to rotate them, you've got that option. The rotation is only limited in the slot configuration, so you'll have to do it in there. And it still auto-updates your canvas. The nice thing about this is that it auto-updates the canvas, but it depends on the first slot to be in the 0, 0 position. Otherwise, it does some funky stuff. So just orient your first slot in the 0, 0 position, and you'll be fine. If you look at the very, very top left, there is a label here. And so it's small by default. Just because it's hard to figure out exactly what the maximum size of your canvas is going to be. So you've got the tooltip up here to enter your canvas resolution, 10752 by 4536. Okay. And then you can just click and scroll up and place that logo anywhere you want. All these rasters that are in here are, by default, they're no longer editable. They come from the pixel map. So if you need to edit any of these, you can update it in the pixel map and then just go in your load configuration, remove it, and reload it. Okay, so back to the label. Put it anywhere you want. Change the color. You can rotate it, so you can add multiple. If you wanted to add a bunch of different labels, you could as well. And then you can define like pixel resolutions. So let's say this one, for example, is 0, 1512. And let's make that one green so it's easy to see. And you can place it in the top corner wherever you want. What else? Your middle mouse button will drag the canvas around too, by the way. Let's see, let's add a couple more. Turn that one green. You can also center these as well, so you can find them easily if you need to. Okay, let's move on. We don't need to add all of them. And then you still have the option to add custom logos here as well, so that you have your logo in your RastrMapr configuration. Let's change this to 300. Not too small. 900. Cool. Oh, maybe not the black one. Let's do the white one. 900. Cool. You can also just click and drag if you want to, or scroll your mouse wheel if you want to get it much larger. Well, let's change the label to something a little nicer on the eyes. So those are custom logos, and then you can save this as well. So, and you can still save it into your projects folder. Let's do test project. Test raster 001. Save, and then you'll see it saves in your project folder that you have set up here. From here, again, you get since I saved it with that name, it'll auto update the name, and then you can download this image as well. So it'll just export this entire raster. So that's the RastrMapr part. Moving on to the output mapper. This one's a little bit different. This one is basically setting up those rasters. Since they're content rasters, it's going to be coming into your media server. You're going to want to still configure how your outputs are going to be chopped up in going to the LED wall processor or whatever image processor that you have that you're setting up. So let's import that test raster. You got a center view button up here. It's pretty simple. Since it loads it in, you'll see it's a little bit dimmer. And then you can add a feed. This also has snapping feature as well. Let's configure this feed to be 3840. Okay, and then we can pop it into this top quadrant on one of these outputs. So your layout here is basically how many configurations. So let's say you have multiple configurations, multiple raster mappers, multiple media servers. You can load up to as many as you need, actually. I don't know if I put a limit. Oh, limit is 10. Okay, so right now we just have one. You can add feeds here. You don't just have the right-click add feed button. You can just add a feed and we'll add it in the top left corner. And and your layout is also for your outputs as well. So see if I center view, I add my outputs. It's 4x4, but I can make it 2x2. So I can only add 2 rasters up here, and then I can have my outputs set up like this if I wanted to. 4x4 is what I usually do. It's the neatest layout. Okay, so let's add a few more. You also have a duplicate feed option here, so you can duplicate feeds and it'll snap them. You can set up your configurations like this. The feeds also have a snapping feature so that you know that they're at 00. And from here you can just keep setting up the configuration. It will still has a snapping feature even on individual tiles, if you notice this. That's where the snapping feature is there. If for some reason you need to rotate, you do have rotate options here so that you can fit them into non-standard resolutions and do custom mappings. Let's set up a really quick wall and duplicate this feed here. Feed 1 copy. And you can name these just to kind of keep yourself organized as well. So this is AV1. Let's go ahead and set that up. AV1. -2. This is AV2 at the bottom for feed 1 copy. Feed 4 copies, AV6. And feed 4 is AV5. go ahead and copy this one. You can do math in these fields. 3840 divided by 2. And you can see it'll do the math for those as well. Okay, let's button this up really quick. I'm just going to fly through the rest of these just to kind of knock them out. I'm not going to name every single one. Okay, cool. So we've got all of our outputs. Let's see, we only needed 9 of these, so we can trim this down to 9. Center this view, and you've got a few more options here, okay? If you want to export each one of these into their own individual maps, let me see, did I put the gap in there? Yeah. You have that option as well, so you can go on your outputs, and you have another custom logo accordion down here to choose a logo. And so you can add a logo to each and every single one of these as well. And you have a label that you can add. This is a 30, 40, 160 output. Out 1. Let's make that text green. So you have that option for every single output. I'm not going to add it to every single one, but so you get the options that you have available here. And so let's set this up as full output config, and we can save it to the test project. And again, obviously you can recall it. You just click on it, or you can download this configuration. You can send it off to somebody else who's working on it. And then of course you have the export options. So you've got a few things here. We have 9 outputs. So if you do export all outputs as PNG or JPEG, JPEGs are going to be a little bit more compressed. It will download all 9 of them. So yeah, I think you have to enable or allow this for the website to do that. You should get a pop-up by some of your browsers in order to make sure that you actually want to download all 9 files. Or you can do an example UI view. So if I do a sample UI view, it's basically going to cut out what the UI looks like. And this will let you show off what the raster configuration is going to be and what the outputs are. Okay, well, that's about it. If you guys have any questions, need any feedback, or want to provide any feedback, let me know. Happy to work with you guys on getting things installed and